Hello everyone and welcome to another Digimon video. This time I'm going to be going over my quick thoughts for episode 24 of Digimon Ghost Game, which is called Twisted Love. So, to start off, I still don't know how I feel about this episode. Usually I watch the episode, I have some notes written down, and then I can jump straight into the recording because I know exactly how I feel about an episode. This episode was a little bit different. I still have no idea how I actually felt about this episode. The episode starts off and kind of continues on in a kind of like what you'd expect, very Mon of the Week sort of thing that we have come to expect from Digimon Ghost Game. It has this sort of creepy beginning where some things start happening, introducing the Mon of the Week and what they're doing, and it does still follow that formula. However, it goes from being kind of like, I guess kind of average, kind of just like, okay, it's what you'd expect from Digimon. It's, you know, solid 3. It's what we expect from the series. It just is what it is. But then in the last few minutes of the episode, it really just takes a really horrific turn. And even though it's a fairly spooky-ish, kind of creepy episode in general, a Digimon is altering people and making them like sprout vines instead of arms or instead of legs. So already we have some body horror, but it's sort of just like how Dracomon was making parts of the human body disappear. It's just kind of a little bit creepy, but what's happening is that, and we later learn that anyone who talks to Yuto has this kind of body mod going on because of the Mon of the Week. And we learn that this is because Ajataramon has fallen in love with Yuto and is trying to experiment on people so she can work out how to turn a human into an Ajataramon so they can be together. So, a pretty creepy premise, a Digimon stalker, definitely a unique premise to Digimon overall. I don't recall we've ever really had... I think we've had it in Cyber Sleuth a few times where like a Digimon has been stalking a human. Like, for memory, there was a Lilymon who was in love with a human and was just being really weird. And I remember that being kind of like a toned down version of this. Like, that was just kind of like a little, she's a stalker, that's a little bit creepy. But this one really just took that and just, that whole idea and just turned it up to 11. So, Ajataramon's trying to make Yuto another Ajataramon by testing on people, and they're sort of becoming like half vine, half human monstrosities. And Kiyoshiro ends up having vine arms and legs, which needs to be fixed still at the end of the episode. So in terms of how other episodes usually go, like, oh yes, and now the Mon of the Week is good or destroyed or whatever, all the effects from that Mon of the Week have been reverted. Everything's the same at the end of the episode. But this one kind of implied that it's permanent damage, and they'll definitely recover it. Like, Kiyoshiro will be normal next week, or when next episode rather, but we actually see him still suffering at the end of the episode, and Jellymon has an antidote. So that's kind of an interesting tidbit, instead of just, oh, now the Mon of the Week is defeated, it's all magically back to normal. Which is something that a lot of the other episodes have had, or it's kind of implied that anything that was done has now been reverted. This episode, it changed that, and that was still a little bit of a creepy bit. Something else I like about this episode is that they answered questions that I may have had during the episode, like, well, why are the parents okay? Ajataramon mentioned, like, why would I want to hurt Yuto's primary caregivers? And then when we are usually shifting into that digital space, we have the character saying, no, we don't want to lose Yuto and Kiyoshiro. We want to make sure we're on their tail, so we can't change to that digital space. I felt like a lot of things were answered, and it changed up a little bit. This episode felt like it was taking that formula that we know and love from Ghost Game and just tweaking bits and pieces, which I really like that. But in terms of the end of the episode, what happens is that Yuto says he doesn't want to become an Ajataramon, and Ajataramon's like, okay, and stabs herself with the vine, and she says, then I will become a human. And then she becomes like half human, half a Jataramon, but ends up like horrifically wilting into this just pit of sadness and then evaporates into data. And it's really like, as I said, the episode was kind of like an average Ghost Game episode, like maybe like a 3 out of 5, kind of sort of like, oh, okay, went from this part to this part. And the pacing was actually fun in this episode. I didn't feel like it was rushed in the last few minutes. It felt the correct pacing that you would expect. But the end part just really took me out of it. Like, I have no idea how I feel about this episode now with the ending. Like, it definitely, it shocked me, honestly. I didn't expect it to go there. It just felt like, I was like, oh, is the Jataramon killing herself? Like, kind of, but she's also trying to make herself a human. And it's just all kinds of body horror, horrific, it just is really creepy. And I still don't know how I feel about this episode. I think I liked it, but it definitely surprised me, and that's something that I didn't think that Ghost Game could really do. I feel like Ghost Game is enjoyable and might even be one of my favourite seasons of Digimon at the end of it, but it is quite formulaic and it does seem to follow a pattern. But lately, each episode has tried to tear away from that pattern more and more, and while this episode was just very straightforward Mon of the Week, it didn't do anything other than being Mon of the Week, we definitely saw, like, we didn't try to talk a Jataramon down. We fought the battle, which is, Digimon, you have to have a battle, and then it just went from there, and we ended up having this really gross body horror, and it was quite sad, really. Like, I didn't expect it. I kind of wanted a Jataramon to be, I kind of expected a Jataramon to just be like, oh, humans don't want to be turned into Digimon. Oh, okay, whoopsies, my bad. I learnt my lesson, won't do that again, like a lot of the other episodes of Ghost Game have been. But it didn't do that. She just doubled down, and yeah, I don't know how I feel about this episode. It was upsetting, which, art is meant to make you feel things, and I definitely felt something. I'm just, like, it kind of feels like almost, it's not quite disgust, but it's like, it's just discomforting, this episode. It's just unsettling. Like, this is probably the most unsettling episode of Digimon Ghost Game, maybe even all of Digimon. And not often do I watch an episode of Digimon and think, I want to rewatch that just to make sure just to solidify how I feel. And honestly, I almost watched it again straight after watching it the first time. Like, because I still have no idea how. I'm probably going to watch it before the podcast, or maybe even after the podcast, just to solidify some feelings there, because I don't know what I rate it. Definitely, I think more than a 3, but I don't know if it would be a 5, just for surprising me, or just like a 4. In any case, definitely an interesting episode, definitely something a little bit different to what we've had in Ghost Game, and I'm sure that after talking about it on the podcast later on, or very soon I guess, I'll have more of an opinion. But in general, those are my thoughts for this episode. It did a lot of stuff, is what I can say about this episode. But let me know what you think about this episode in the comments. I'd love to read them, because maybe that would help solidify these strange thoughts that I have going on in my brain right now. But yes, so that was episode 24. Every time I hear I think of the episode title, which is Twisted Love, my brain goes, dun dun, tainted love. I don't know why. So I've had tainted love in my head for a week. The last thing I want to mention is that the next time on was a live action segment, and it had the narrator saying that he's going to walk us through the world of Digimon Ghost Game next week. So I'm guessing that sounds like it's going to be a clip show narrated by the narrator in live action. This could be always been planned, but again, we don't know. This could have just been, they still need more time to get the files after the ransomware, and they can only do like a quick live action special segment. But I don't know, like Digimon Universe Aptly Monsters also had a clip show. I think it was episode 26, so around this time anyway. So honestly, it could have always been planned. This could have just been something because of the hack and they still aren't quite ready with the next chunk of episodes. I don't know. But in any case, not sure if I would be doing any Ghost Game episode for the channel next week. Because of that, if it's just a clip show, there's nothing that I can really discuss. It's not even going to be a numbered episode. It's just going to be like a special. If we get any new information, I'll probably just do a quick video, but I'm unlikely to do a podcast about it. It depends on what it is and if there's anything worth discussing. There'll still be obviously other videos coming out on my channel. I've got one coming out tomorrow morning for the 7th anniversary of the podcast, and that's about the English dub of Digimon. So check that out. And if it's already out, you can watch that now. So go do that. But yeah, let me know what you think about this episode of Ghost Game in the comments, or what you would expect next week's like special episode to be. If you just think it's a clip show, let me know. Like this video if you also have no idea how emotions or feelings work at the moment. Subscribe if you haven't already. And of course, I'll see you on the next video. Bye!